Welcome to D2 Wrenchworks and DIY. In today's video, I have a tip and a trick for you to try to save your crank that's stuck. And I'm gonna guess that when you tried your proper tool, you come to find out there's actually nothing on the inside. This one's the same. I mean, you can barely feel any of it. The threads are destroyed. The first time I tried it, my tool fell right off, and that was the best I could do. It actually took what was left over right off of it. You're probably gonna see the same thing. The dust cap, when I took this off, a bunch of metal was inside. Unfortunately, whoever upgraded this bike put this on there, likely knowing that it was messed up, and it's a really nice Shimano 600 crank. So if you're looking for a way to try to take yours off and you can't use your Park CCP 22 tool, that's the one. Link will be in the description. This is a proper tool for square taper, just like this crank, square taper cranks. So what you would do is thread this piece all the way inside of here, and then as you would manually screw it in, it presses the crank off of the taper of the bottom bracket. So that gives you an idea of how it's supposed to come off. Knowing that actually will be helpful, because what we're going to try to do is emulate that in a different way. And so there's multiple different ways. If you're not saving the crank and you just want to get the dang thing off, you don't care, what I would recommend is a grinder. I have one of these with a nice steel disc on it. It would cut through this aluminum like butter. And the first thing you would want to aim for, as you can see, there's a slight diamond here from where the taper is. I have it like diamond shaped to give you a better example here. You'd want to cut this side, and you'd want to cut this side. Just two reliefs. And you could just take a hammer and a screwdriver and tap it open, and it will actually just fall right off. To be honest, I bet you once you got good and into this one side, it would be so hot and it would be vibrating so much that it would fall off right then. That way you have your chain rings and all of that are still good, and maybe you could salvage that onto your next chain ring here, or crank arm, I'm sorry. So either way, the first step you're gonna do is we're gonna take off both of these chain rings, because these are good, at least for me. If yours aren't, who cares, grind them too. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that now. And doing this, skipping around helps keep it tight. You don't have to have a special tool on the back to hold it, and I don't actually have mine out right now, so hopefully this will work. Yeah, there you go, perfect. You can just hold the back nut there with your finger and thread it out. Try to hold on to these, because these can be a little expensive, especially if you have a nice crank. They're going to be nice aluminum ones. And actually, since I do have my Sharpie here, this wipes right off with rubbing alcohol. One thing you do want to make sure, you have the chain rings clocked properly, if these are good for you moving into the next one. So what I'm going to do, the inside chain ring can be flipped outside, so you don't want to do that. Just put like a little O or something on the outside of the chain ring where you're going to see it. This is not good handwriting. I'm actually left-handed, but whatever. And this one, the big one, you can't mess up. There's a pin right here, and that hides under the crank arm, and that's the only way that it could be installed. Okay, so now we got basically your decision whether you're going to keep it or you're going to destroy it at this point. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it. If you have some more friends or a shop local to you that you're pretty good buddies with and they won't charge you a bunch of money, this is the easiest, bar none. I mean, in and out, save the crank. You could still put it on, and you could do this every time till the end of time. It's not very difficult. Have your wrench. This is the bottom bracket wrench that matches what's in here. Any of these flat wrenches that fit these, they're gonna go right on, and I'll show you right here. You slide it behind, And right now I'm on the bottom bracket. So I could go ahead and loosen that. And if that is what you want to do, you can remove the other cup of the bottom bracket on this side and remove this one as well. And you're going to pull all of it out with the crank still attached. And now what you can do is take the axle, point it inside of a press down, and you're going to press inside of this little tiny piece. You need a small socket and then, you know, a press to come press down on it, or maybe an Allen socket or something. You know, a little experimenting, something that you want to make sure you don't want to put any, you don't want to mess up the threads if you're trying to save the bottom bracket. This, I'm actually turning this bike into a triple, so all of this I want to keep, ideally. A lot of the times people want to keep the crank, but the bottom bracket's bad. So what you could do also is get, and this is also kind of sketchy because you're getting close, you could try to cut the bottom bracket and have somebody press it out. Honestly, this is usually the best way, I think. Just go ahead and disassemble it and pull the crank out that way. But like I said, I have another way that I'm going to try right now, and that involves a this is my tuning fork, if you can't tell. That's loud. Okay, sorry. This is for ball and joints, tie rods, all of that. You hammer them in on automobiles to separate them if you're doing any suspension work. This also works great to emulate a press from the back, and where the inside crank arm spider is on the inside of here, where you're actually going to press up against, you're going to press up against the steel of the bottom bracket as well. You can't really do any damage. It's going to be cosmetic damage, and you could just kind of file and sand it. But the first important thing, since we have a steel bottom bracket axle and we have an aluminum crank, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I have a Harbor Freight like 2-stage heat gun. It's 1500 watts. I'll show you that in a second. I already have it all set up on a bike stand and everything. So it'll just sit here. And as it's getting nice and hot and I'm getting blasted by it, dying here, I'm going to just slowly find a way to wedge it in between. Like that. It's going to take some going back and forth. You want to try not to hit the spider arms. You don't really want to get it in too far. We're just trying to slowly walk it around. You're going to go like this, turn it back around, go like this, turn it back around, go like this. So we're going to try to eventually just push it off the taper. And hopefully that makes some sense to you. And like I said, I'm going to be showing you. But what we're going to do is we're going to get this nice and hot. You don't want to put, like, don't have somebody that's your mechanic friend put a blowtorch on it. This is aluminum. You will either fatigue the metal, you're going to make it super brittle, you're going to warp it. Aluminum will only take like up to 600 degrees or something like that, and it has lost like half of its strength at that point. For a crank arm, that's not good. So try to be safe here, and this is what we're going to give a shot first. Okay, so right now it's only been on for maybe a minute or so, but this thing's, like I said, it's crazy hot. I have it angled real nice. I'm kind of rotating it around like a rotisserie, trying to get it nice and hot. Try to touch the arms because they get hot fast, and yeah, I'm even way down here by the pedal at the thickest part of the aluminum up here. It's starting to get pretty warm. So I'm gonna get back to work, but I just wanted to point that out. it's hot. So there you go. Really, maybe a few minutes just going back and forth. There is a little, like I said, on the back side here. Let me get a rag, hold on. So this is hot. Now there is a little bit on the back side here. There is a little bit of, you know, ding damage. It's not really a big deal, to tell you the truth. It's not going to affect the taper. It's extremely far away from it. We made sure to, you know, not hit any of these legs here. And because of the angle, you can adjust the angle. This is the way you want to, so you could do like this with the flat side going, you know, towards, or you could have it like this. Now you want to make sure you don't hit any tubing on the frame. And when you do have it in a spot where you want to move it around, it's going to be good and stuck. That's why I was hammering on the handle here and pulling down is what I was doing to loosen it. Really, you know, not a big deal. This is still good for a very long time now. As you can see, you know, I showed you just a minute ago, it's not that hard to do. So, I mean, if you put a decent bottom bracket in there, it'll last you years. You only have to do this again maybe one more time for the lifetime of the bike. Just a good way to save some money. As I mentioned, you could just take the whole bottom bracket out and have somebody, you know, press right through, and that's just as good. But this is just a cheap tool. You know, most anybody has one of these from doing a driveway job or something like that, or maybe you know a mechanic friend. I'm an auto mechanic myself, so that and just a cheap hammer. Just a little guy like that, it doesn't take much. So that's a good tech tip for you today. Please do subscribe, guys. Thanks for watching my channel. Have a good day. Bye.